It being 7:15, I will call the meeting of the Select Board back into session. We have been meeting in executive session. There's nothing to report out from the executive session. Note this meeting is being televised, streamed, or recorded by Bourne TV. If anyone in the audience is recording or videotaping, they need to acknowledge such at this time. Michael Rausch. Use of flash photography during select board meetings is prohibited. If anyone from the public wishes to access the meeting, they can do so by calling the conference line, 1-929-205-6099. The Zoom meeting ID is 869-5775-5505. The password is Bourne, all uppercase, B-O-U-R-N-E. The Zoom chat will not be monitored. Participants who wish to speak must raise the hand icon until the chair asks them to unmute. All items within the meeting agenda are subject to deliberation and votes. A moment of silence to recognize our troops and public safety personnel. And salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reading of the Select Board vision and mission.
I'll take the vision.
Peter?
Bourne is a proud community that embraces change while respecting the rich heritage of the town and its villages. It is a municipality based on strong fiscal government with a durable economy that recognizes the rights of all citizens, respects the environment, especially the coastal areas of the community, and the amenities that it affords. Bourne embraces excellent education and offers the citizens a healthy, active lifestyle.
And the mission?
I can do the mission.
Jean?
Bourne will maximize opportunities for social and economic development while retaining an attractive, sustainable, and secure coastline and environment for all, for the enjoyment of residents and visitors. Through responsible and professional leadership and in partnership with others, Bourne will strive to improve the quality of life for all residents living and working in the larger community.
Thank you. Community shout out and recognition. I don't have too much tonight. I just want to recognize Marilyn Morris, who passed away.
Yeah.
And she was a longtime member of the Finance Committee and a really active in municipal government. So she is missed.
And to the Bourne Braves, who lost yesterday 4-3 to end the season, but great job by the Bourne Braves. The last 3 years have been special.
Thank you.
I'd like to add just very quickly, and just say just a quick shout out to the accident that was on the Sagamore Bridge. Was Martha Sheldon, and she's one of the board members, one of my colleagues on the Herring Pond Watershed Association. I know a lot of their work they do is in Plymouth, but the watershed is also in Bourne, so I'd like to just make sure that we recognize her loss and Brian Harrington today, because they're wonderful people.
Public comment on non-agenda items. Is there anyone here for a public comment on a non-agenda item? Anyone in Zoom? Seeing none, we will move right along. Next is the poll hearing for Meeting House Lane and Cape View Way. I will call the public hearing to order. The Select Board public hearing is based on the petition dated July 3rd, 2024 from Verizon New England and NStar Electric, DBA Eversource Energy. The petition proposes installation of one pole on the north side of Meeting House Lane at Cape View Way. The new location will be approximately 20 feet north of the center line of Meeting House Lane and will be located approximately 63 feet west of the existing pole, 184/3, and will be approximately 112 feet east of the existing pole, 184/4. The installation is being requested by Eversource to upgrade services and provide added height to the existing pole line overhanging Cape View Way for public safety personnel. Is there someone from Verizon or Eversource here?
This is Karen Mahoney representing Verizon.
Hi, Karen. Would you have anything you wanted to say?
No, really just what we provided on the petition itself. Again, this is to lay and secure cables and wires that are in the area to make sure that it's a safety reason and to also provide service to the public in that area.
Thank you. Is there any comment from the public? Anyone on Zoom? No comment? Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the request for the poll on 184-3.5 on Meeting House Lane at Cape View Way.
Is there a motion by Peter, second by Anne Marie. Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you. Next, joint meeting with the planning board. Would you like to call the planning board to order?
Call the planning board meeting to order. There are 6 members present and 1 on Zoom.
Okay. First item is discussion and possible vote to fill the planning board vacancy. We have an application from Corinne Moore to serve in the vacancy. Do you have anything you'd like to say, Corinne?
Not much. I think everyone knows me. I live in Sagamore. I've been a lifelong resident of the town of Bourne. Worked for the town for 25 years, enjoyed that. Living in the town and driving through the town, I see a lot of projects that I worked on then and would like to see them even further, and see new projects. I like to stay involved in my town. I just like to stay involved. Being in retirement is fun, but it's also great to be involved, to see things to be implemented. I'm also very involved in my tribe. I'm on the court committee. I work with the courts. I was interim housing director after I left here. I just finished up that job in July. So just trying to stay busy.
Great.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Peter.
Corinne and I came into elected government in Bourne back in '96. Corinne came in, as a plan technician. I came on the planning board and housing authority, so I watched Corinne grow over the years, and all the way up to town planner in this community. And she's been nothing but amazing in her work ethic and as a person. She did this town well, and our town's better for it. No, and don't forget, she is a lifelong member of the community as well. She was born and raised here. So you're getting no better person to serve on the planning board, where she was the former town planner, and now to be on the planning board to help guide these projects through. I just think it's great. I think she'll be a great addition to the board. So thank you, Corinne, for stepping up.
Any other comment from the board? Jean?
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled, and I'm really appreciate Corinne stepping up, and the time I served on the planning board, and the support with the planning department, and the work that we did together. And it's going to be great to have a deep history, and I definitely appreciate you stepping up and taking your time to serve. Thank you.
I too want to say, I've known Corinne in many different aspects, mostly through my tribe and my tribal family, but I've watched the work that she's done here in Bourne, and I have to say, when I started my tenure as a tribal chairwoman, a lot of the work that Corinne has done, it really inspired me. Well, you probably don't know that. I don't think I've ever told you that. But the hard work she did in being planner for so many years as a Wampanoag woman, and just that hard work that comes with that. There's so few of us in these seats and in these spaces. So you've inspired me over the years, so I couldn't think of anyone better for the seat myself. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Any comment from the planning board? Chris?
Chris Farrell, the chair of the planning board currently. When I first started on the planning board, Corinne was our town planner, and we worked together. She did 99% of the work, but on, especially for our downtown zoning. And it was something new, a form-based zoning that a lot of people hadn't heard of, and Corinne brought it in. Again, you've all said it, lifelong resident, her family's here. She wants to stay involved, and her institutional knowledge is going to benefit the entire town, not just the planning board. So, we're welcoming her back.
Okay, that's great. Do we do one motion or two separate motions? Is there a planning board motion and a select board, or one motion and we all vote?
One motion, and it's both boards vote.
Make a motion that we appoint Corinne Moore to the Bourne Planning Board to fill the vacancy, term to expire at the general election in May of 2025.
Second. We get the 2 seconds. We're like, 1 second, I got it. Give it to Jean, she's the
Oh,
new one.
thank you.
Peter, Jean, and the third was, and the fourth
Yeah,
was.
I heard that.
Okay. We don't need a roll call on this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or do
Yeah,
we?
'cause
Yeah, you do.
Oh, we have someone on Zoom,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Chris, you want to do the planning board, and
Planning
then,
board? Yes.
Yes.
can you say the names so that
Oh,
we
I'm
have
sorry.
a good minutes?
John Duggan, yes.
Jim Robinson, yes.
Amanda Delodo, yes? Liz Brown, yes?
Dan Doucette, yes.
Doc?
Dave O'Connor, yes.
And chair votes yes. Christopher?
I think I'm Amanda Wayne though, with you guys. Identity crisis.
So 6-0-0. And from the select board, Jean,
Yes.
Peter, yes.
Peter, Anne Marie,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
and MJ votes yes. So that's 5-0-0. So it is totally unanimous. Congratulations. All right, thank you. All right, next, discussion on MBTA zoning in advance of fall town meeting. I think you might have been working on this, and we just wanted to get an update, so know what you're doing, if you want to,
I'm going to have Jen.
Jen?
Town planner,
okay.
outline of it.
And we have our town council on too, so he'll understand what's going on too, so.
All right, for the record, Jen Copeland, Town Planner. I am going to provide an update, just where we are on the status of the MBTA. Does everybody have a draft copy of the provisions here, the proposed changes? No, okay, I can hand these around to you.
Maybe in my packet. I don't know.
No, it wasn't in the packet.
It wasn't in the packet.
I don't think so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have two in there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, an MBTA community shall have a zoning ordinance or bylaw that provides for at least one district of reasonable size in which multifamily housing is permitted as of right. A district of reasonable size shall have a minimum gross density of 15 units per acre, and be located not more than a half a mile from a commuter rail station, subway station, ferry terminal, or bus station if applicable. The Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, it's EOHLC, which we call HLC now, oversees compliance of the Section 3A zoning requirements. For Bourne, the unit capacity to comply with Section 3A is 557 units. And while we don't have a commuter rail station, it's a long-term goal to create a station in the downtown district of Buzzards Bay. As you know, the town voted to become an MBTA community in anticipation of expanding the MBTA commuter rail line into Buzzards Bay. So just briefly, the downtown district is comprised of 4 sub-districts: the core, the gateway, the waterfront, and the neighborhood. The core sub-district is largely commercial and mixed use. The Gateway Subdistrict is located on the eastern side of Buzzards Bay, near the Bourne Bridge. The Waterfront Subdistrict is located on the western side of downtown Buzzards Bay, and it includes a limited passenger service train station for the Cape Flyer. Lastly, there's a neighborhood subdistrict, which is comprised primarily of single-family and two-family residential uses. The core, the Gateway, and the Waterfront subdistricts were chosen to allow for by right development of the multifamily units consistent with Section 3A. The downtown neighborhood was not included. Bourne's action plan was submitted to the state in March of 2023, and it was approved, which is good. So the town has interim compliance until December of 2025. We also worked with the Cape Cod Commission to complete some compliance modeling. And the modeling does show that the core, the Gateway, and the Waterfront have the capacity for 15 units per acre. In May, just this past May, I submitted a pre-adoption review application to the state. The review will ensure that the proposed zoning will meet Section 3A requirements before bringing it to town meeting. So as of right now, we're waiting for a response back. So I think the first public hearing is scheduled for August 22nd, but I do think we want to definitely hear back from the state. So we're still kind of in a waiting pattern. So I figure over the winter, we would have some more outreach, work on the website, and then hopefully have the goal to bring it to town meeting in the spring of 2025. And you can see, I can go through this just briefly. When we were actually working on it, it turned out that there's not a lot of changes. I think if we didn't have the downtown district, it would have been a lot more complex. But since we do, what would be changed is the allowable uses table. So you can see here apartment buildings and two-family dwellings. That would be permitted by right. Instead of by a special permit. There would still be a ground floor limitation on Main Street, directly on Main Street. That's one change. And then we also want to take out the three-family dwelling because that falls under the multifamily use. And then for the dimensional standards, the market rate housing, you can see it goes from 1 unit for 25 square feet of lot area to 3,000 square feet of lot area, and that would allow for the 15 units per acre. And then lastly, the parking requirements for multifamily dwelling, it would be proposed to have 1 space per dwelling unit plus 1 guest space for every 10 units, rather than 1.5 per dwelling unit. So I think that's it. I definitely want to wait for the to hear back from the state because in our downtown we have the inclusionary zoning. So for 10 units of apartments that are constructed, 10% are required to be affordable. So I think what they have done in some other towns is they do an economic feasibility study to make sure that it would still, you could still get the units by right, without having the 10% provision being not feasible.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions from the board?
No, that's good.
Anne Marie?
So what was the thought process with this particular zone? Was there a change in something? Were you finding that development was difficult and you needed to make these changes with this particular zoning? What was the thought process behind these changes? If anyone from the planning board or?
Required, the
And I-
state
required for the
legislature
MBTA.
Yeah,
legislated,
it's-
legislated,
Okay.
yeah. They said we had to
so
do this.
it's-
Yeah.
No, I know we have to do it, but
So it's under Chapter 40A, Section 3A. It's a new section to allow for multifamily housing.
okay. And that's strictly the motivation behind changing it for in our particular downtown district?
Well, yes, and we obviously want
I know we
to
have to meet a
increase our
certain capacity,
production.
right, so
Yeah,
this-
we want to
this-
increase our production of housing
Right,
as
so
well.
that's the motivation, then that's the thought
Right.
process, to increase production of housing to reach that capacity that we need to get.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's just a zoning thing. In other words, it just says that this is in the zoning, and so people can do it or not. You're not required to actually have it. You're only required to have the zoning so that it can happen.
It can
So,
happen, yeah.
okay. Any questions from the planning board or the public or comments? Okay, from Zoom? Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very
Thank
much. I
you.
appreciate you giving us that update.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
we know what's going on. I think that's it for your thing. You had a motion to. Well, you have to have adjournment and you have to do a roll call.
Oh, yes, we do.
Oh, yes.
Yes, John Duggan. Yes.
Name,
Jim Robinson.
Chris Farrell, yes.
Amanda Millerdoing, yes. Liz Brown, yes.
Dan Doucette, yes.
Doc?
David O'Connor, yes.
Thanks. We're adjourned.
Adjourn.
All right,
Thank
thank you very
you.
much. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thanks again, Corinne.
Good luck, Chief.
Okay, next item. Next is the consent agenda. Okay. Consent agenda, appointment of Sergeant Mulligan as the special police officer. Appointment of Richard Enos to the Council on Aging Committee for a term ending on June 30th, 2026. Approval of the annual Pecasset Village Social at Barlow's Landing on August 17th, 2024. Accept an anonymous $40 donation to the library and accept $350 in donations to the Council on Aging in memory of Olympia Walker.
So moved.
Motion by Anne Marie. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, God, Peter.
Second by Peter. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, abstentions? It's unanimous. Next is fee waiver for Special Olympics use of community center field. Marlene, are you speaking to that, or?
I don't have anything, I don't know anything about I can't speak to the event. But it is the community building, and there is a fee schedule, and we're willing to follow your direction on whether or not you want us to waive the
Okay,
fee.
is there any questions? Motion?
Motion to approve. The request, a fee waiver.
$400 fee waiver, right?
Yep.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Melissa. Is there any discussion? I do have a question. Does an event like that here in the field require a special, is that a special event? Do they need to come to us for an event, or does it just happen, scheduled by the community building?
It's going through our reservation system. I don't know the details on the event.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting,
It's not part
Special
of the
event.
special events policy and procedures for
Okay.
going before the select board. The location, community building area is not under that.
Goes through a different
It goes through a
process.
different process.
similar routing,
Exactly,
but,
but it was one of those items that we were gonna get to eventually, once we get a better system in place, so.
okay. Thank you, yes, I appreciate that. You're the guru on special events. Okay, any question from the public, Zoom? Okay, so fee waiver of $400, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, abstentions, it's unanimous. Suicide prevention proclamation. I do not have my laptop with me tonight, so I cannot read the suicide prevention. Someone else can read it. Anne Marie, would you please
Okay.
read the suicide prevention proclamation?
National Suicide Prevention and Action Month proclamation. Whereas with September recognized as Suicide Prevention and Action Month, the Cape and Island Suicide Prevention Coalition invites our community's mental health advocates, prevention organizations, survivors, and allies to join us in helping to destigmatize mental health through initiative taking action towards suicide prevention. We seek to raise awareness and visibility of suicide prevention resources in our communities and help connect individuals with the appropriate support services such as 988. And whereas, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34, with more than 49,476 people dying by suicide annually in the United States. And whereas, with an average of 132 suicide deaths daily, and each one directly impacting 125 additional people, including friends, service members, family, social media connections, and neighbors, we know a sizable number of individuals have been impacted by suicide. Whereas Barnstable County's suicide rate is 1.5 times higher, standing at 14.4 per 100,000 versus the state of Massachusetts' suicide rate of 9.4 per 100,000. We recognize the need to create hope through action locally. Whereas our local Cape and Island Suicide Prevention Coalition works hard to spread the word about prevention, awareness, education, and action through training, forums, and events in our region. Whereas Bourne commits to being an active prevention partner with the Cape and Island Suicide Prevention Coalition and publicly places its full support behind those who work in the field of suicide prevention and research, mental health, community health, education, and law enforcement who deal with this daily. Whereas we encourage all residents to take time to understand mental health and suicide through education and recognize that we need to take care of our mental health while we take care of each other. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bourne Select Board do hereby proclaim the month of September 2024 as National Suicide Prevention and Action Month in Bourne. Dated August 13th, 2024.
Make a motion that we hereby proclaim the month of September 2024 as National Suicide Prevention and Action Month in Bourne.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Jean. Is there any discussion? I think the numbers are staggering.
Oh.
Yeah.
The numbers are staggering. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Next, licenses and events. License consideration of a Beano license for St. Margaret's Church, 141 Main Street, Buzzards Bay. Any questions from the board? Anyone here to speak to the event? See anyone? Okay,
Yes.
Now we can legally
all in
do
order?
it.
Do we have to wait for like the Attorney General to?
We're good.
No, we're, it's
Already
done.
done.
It's already been
I mean, that's
done.
what I mean, but that's
Yeah,
why
the
it hasn't been
article
done.
Correct.
Since town meeting, we're waiting for the AG to
That's
approve
correct.
the
And then we had to
bylaw.
notify the
article is
Gambling
approved.
Commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Make a motion that we approve the issuance of a Beano license for St. Margaret's Church, 141 Main Street in Buzzards Bay.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Melissa. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions? It's unanimous. Next, events, discussion possible vote, amendment to previously approved Kindness Festival event, Buzzards Bay Park on September 7th, 2024.
And MJ,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We heard, I think this morning, that, so they've requested 2 amendments in your packet.
Right.
The Pine Meadow Alpaca Farm, along with the approximately 30 dune buggies. They let us know today that they are not moving forward with the dune buggies, and they just want you to do the alpacas, is that right?
yeah, in the grass area.
So the amendment is just to add the alpacas.
Okay.
And from the looks of the map, that's going on the open space Marine Life Center property.
That's correct.
Yes, the green area by Marine Life Center.
I mean, it's a great event, you know, he's been doing it for a couple of years, and it's, you know, and it's a very fun day for the village of Buzzards Bay when this does happen. Make approval that we approve the amendment and to allow the Pine Meadow alpacas on the Marine Life Center property that the town leases out to them.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Jean. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, abstentions? It's unanimous. Next is discussion and possible vote, Angel Babies, use of Buzzards Bay Park on October 15th, 2024, for a Wave of Light Remembrance event as conditioned by departments. Is there any discussion on this event? The only question I had is, and I don't know if they're here. Oh, okay, you want to come up? The only question I had is 100-yard signs and stakes going into the ground.
I brought photos from previous events,
Okay,
so you guys could see. I only have one set, I didn't bring a set for everyone. So they're yard sale signs, and we use them to display the names of all the
Right,
babies.
right.
So you can kind of see.
you gotta come closer, I'm old.
Here. And we're like, there's a few different ones.
I see.
So do they go on the irrigation section, or they go around the walkway?
There's the oval that's right there in the park, and I was thinking, if you guys approve it, just putting them right there with the luminary bags.
Okay, can you show it to Marlene? I just want to make sure that there's irrigation in there, and so I know they don't allow tent stakes,
Yeah,
but these are fine?
these should be all right.
Okay.
Yeah, they only go in like,
Okay,
Not
Little
too
bit.
far, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're like the little real estate signs. They like,
that's exactly what it is. It's a yard
Yeah.
sale sign from Amazon.
Yeah.
And we just,
they're like the little open house
Make it
lead-in.
pretty.
it sounds like a wonderful event, so.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to speak to your event and explain what it is? You don't have to, but if you.
yeah, absolutely. I'm Alicia Neal. I'm the founder of Angel Babies. Our Wave of Light is a remembrance for babies gone too soon, for families locally and online to come and have a night of remembrance and remember their babies. And we are currently at about 50,000 babies that we're remembering this October.
Wow.
Yes.
That's not in the last year.
No, that is over a
Over a
lifetime.
lifetime.
Yeah, anyone can request their baby. So sometimes it's somebody who lost their baby last week or 60 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Wow.
thank you for doing this.
Do you make the,
I make the burial gowns also.
do?
I am her. Yep, that is me. So this is the other part of what we do. So we also make burial gowns and donate them to hospitals for the babies.
Yeah.
But also holding events for families to be able to come and meet other families is a huge part of what we do to prevent the suicide. I've lost 10 moms in 2 years.
Wow.
So that one's special.
Wow, yeah. I dropped off my sister's wedding gown to you, so,
I
yeah.
recognized your name.
Yeah.
I have a gown for you.
Okay. Right around the corner.
Yeah.
I'll find you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the request for Angel Babies for the use of Buzzards Bay Park on October 15th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
No, go ahead,
Anne Marie.
Marie, that time.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Discussion and possible vote, Tour de Trees event on September 25th, 2024, continued from 7/2/2024. So there are 3 parts to this?
There are, and the organizer is with us tonight by Zoom.
Okay. Good evening. Would you like to speak to your event?
Hi, good evening. Yes, Jonathan Kane representing Tree Fund. Tree Fund is the Tree Research and Education Endowment Fund, TREE. And we are a nonprofit that supports grants and scholarships for tree researchers. Our event that we have every year is the Tour de Trees. It's a cycling event. We go to a different location every year, and this year we're going to be in New England for our 5-day ride. And we'll be passing through Bourne on Wednesday, September 25th in the afternoon. And I am here for 2 reasons. First of all, I am here for approval for use of the parking lot at the community building to set up an aid station for our riders. We'll have about 75 riders that day coming through town in the afternoon, spread out over the course of about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So they're coming in packs of 2 or 3 or 5, but they it'll be about mile 70 that day for them, so they'll be pretty tired. So we set up 8 stations for them about every 20 miles or so, and they'll get a chance to refill their water bottles, get some snacks, stuff like that, and then take off down the road. We're going to be ending in Falmouth later that day. So looking for approval for that, and then secondly, what we're doing is we're hoping to get together with another nonprofit group called Saluting Branches, and what they do is they specialize in cleaning up the trees and the landscapes of veteran cemeteries, and they are actually working on one of the cemeteries that's down the street. I believe later this month is when they actually have their day, so we're not able to do their event at the exact same time, but we wanted to get together with them. We have a good partnership with them, and bring them out to our event to potentially meet people and make it a larger community event. So in addition to being able to meet with them, we also wanted the ability to potentially plant a tree in that park over by the community center. And then on top of that, we were hoping to host a Meet the Arborist or Ask the Arborist event that local folks from the community can come to as we're there, so that if they have questions about their trees in their yard or anything like that, they're able to come over and ask one of our many professionals that come from all over the country.
Okay. Are these, you look like 2 different requests.
So we put them on the agenda because we did want to differentiate the fact that the aid station for the bicycle ride will be happening here on that day, that Wednesday. And then the tree planting, we'll coordinate with the DPW director and the recreation director as to the location. So I want to give the board the opportunity to discuss them and vote on them separately in case you want to do one but not the other.
Okay. So we'll do them as 2 separate things. Any questions from the board about the bicycle cycling ride, or?
Motion to approve the use of town roads for cycling ride for the Tour de Tree event on September 25th, 2024.
And the use of the community building parking lot?
Yes.
Or the use
Yeah.
and the community building?
Yep.
And placement of teardrop flags and banners to identify parking as
Yes.
presented?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Melissa. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, abstentions? So on the second part, are we just approving in,
And we just accepted a donation of a tree and.
Yeah,
then-
you're approving it without, and then we will coordinate the exact
Yeah,
placement.
yeah. Make a motion that we accept the donation of a tree to be determined, and it will be coordinated with the local departments under the jurisdiction of the DPW director.
motion by Peter, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jean. Is there any discussion?
The Bourne Veterans Committee, they don't have to be.
It's outside the building, physically outside.
No, the trustees are the memorial's inside, is the building and inside the building, it's not outside the building.
Put up a tree,
Okay.
live tree.
Well, yeah. We don't need to approve anything about those people participating in their events in the parking lot or discussions or anything, okay?
No.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Okay, next. Report from
Madam
DPW
Chair.
and engineering.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
You let the guy know that he's all set, and he looks like.
You're all set?
Thank you, yeah.
You're all set.
Thank
You're
you.
approved. Thank you.
Good evening, Matt Swicky, DPW Director. Thank you for having us tonight. We just had a few updates on some projects. Some are DPW, some are DPW and engineering working together. The first project is Academy in Maine. Tim and I have been working very closely on this project. The project is nearing completion, as you can see. There'll be line markings this evening, so the crosswalks will be repainted and the stop lines. And also, parking stalls will be repainted. Next week, we actually are scheduling the texturized pavement in the middle of the intersection. It was originally scheduled to be after Labor Day, but working with Mass Maritime, it will be better to do it next week, and it will have to be done during the day due to the curing process. So we're currently working with police just to make sure we have details in that area that will suffice to make sure the project goes smoothly. There may be one slight detour with that project, which will be people coming out of Academy Drive, making a right on one day. We'll work with Liz to do a public notice to make sure that information's out there ahead of time.
Do you know what day, when that's going to be done?
We're going to finalize that before the end of the week. We'll have something out by Friday.
Could someone, can someone please send that to me? Because our annual meeting for our neighborhood association is that Saturday morning, so I can disseminate that information out there.
Yes.
Yes.
There were some minor change orders with the project, including some paving adjustments and some quantity adjustments, but there was nothing major. The project is on budget to date. There will be a punch list with some landscaping, some damage to the areas, and signage to be completed at the end. And unfortunately, the project did last a couple weeks longer than we originally anticipated. But the contractor was excellent working with the residences and the business owners to make sure it didn't impact business too much. There is a DPW project from the annual town meeting for traffic signal improvements there. We're working on that. In the process of approving that, there was another request for a blinking yellow light there that was approved by roadway advisory. And we're going to get some cost estimates for that and look for Chapter 90 approval to fund that, to combine the project into one project. So that's our update for
Before
Academy.
you go on from that, what's our plan for lighting in that area?
Well, you mean, the
The
lighting on the sidewalk?
We have conduits, but I know we didn't fund it, but I think we do want to have that happen, so.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
Future capital.
Yeah, how future?
Oh, yeah. The sooner-
Let us figure this out, and then it's not too far in the future.
Okay. I just noticed that if there's not lighting, and I noticed this the last select board meeting when I was leaving the parking lot here, and I took a left, and there was someone in the crosswalk right in front of this building, and there's no traffic light that's near that, so that pedestrian walkway is very dark, and I felt like there might have been a light out or something, but I think the issue of lighting and safety and crossing is important. Peter?
Yeah, the west end of Main Street in the summertime right now, and especially on the weekends and Thursday nights, people going from the park while the concerts are going on, they're walking across the street to Mahoney's or Luzia's or any other business in the area, and it's not safe. I mean, the chamber moved it up from 6 to 8 o'clock, so you have another half an hour of light before it got too dark. As before, it was 6:30 to 8:30. But the businesses and the patrons in the area, we need to see if we can push up doing the capital improvement for lighting on that west end of Main Street, just for the safety.
There's a lot of spots that need lighting, to be honest.
But
Yeah.
a lot do, but I'm just saying, while we're on this subject, that end of Main Street, it's been long overdue. But, we have a 5-year capital plan, we gotta see how it can fit into that.
Yeah,
But,
I'll be looking for it.
yeah. I mean, I thank you for talking about the delay yellow light. It's just something that's really been the thorn in my neighbor's sides, out in the point as well as Mass Maritime students and employees, because you could sit there for an undetermined amount of time trying to make that left-hand turn. And if you're not familiar with the area, you sit there if the light's green, you can go up around the rotary down and make a right-hand turn, and get on, but still, I mean, that light, that blinking yellow light will make things a lot more efficient. You won't be stacking and queuing back on Main Street when they could, if there's no one around, they gotta sit there, because someone got a ticket. They decide not to wait any longer, and they went through the light, and they got a ticket. So,
On red doesn't work.
so
You
it's,
got the same thing, it's like coming out of Perry, same thing, it's dangerous. You
Yeah.
stop at the end, half the time you can't get out in the summertime. People are doing 60 miles an hour down Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the same thing in my neighborhood. We go through the same thing. It gets backed up on the weekends because it's backed up all down Main Street. You can't get out either end. So there's a lot that we gotta work on so people can get out of their neighborhoods for sure. There's not much we can do in the summer, unfortunately.
The only observation I noticed from the construction at Academy and Main Street is when you're now leaving Taylor's Point, because they extended that bump out a little bit. Before, you could have a car stay on the left and then a car could get around the light. So you have two cars going on the Main Street. Now, with the with bumping out the curb in a little bit, it's one lane, so yes, it slows people down, but at the same time, you're not going to be able to get on the Main Street and to make that right-hand turn. So it's just a unintended consequence probably when it going through the design of it, but it's just something I've observed since it's been finished.
All right, moving right along.
Great work, Matt.
ARPA project for baseball fields.
So the pilot program was initiated by the Select Board to see the implications of DPW maintaining the fields at a high level for the use of the residents and all the Bourne youth baseballs. Based on the analysis, it took 474 extra hours of labor to complete the fields to the level they were maintained at this year. Of those hours, there was 118 overtime hours needed. The total additional cost for the field was about $24,850, and $7,200 of that was overtime costs. There was, within that $24,000, we had to estimate what we expect the water bills to be, because we haven't received those yet, and Bourne Youth Baseball has always paid those until now. So that was just an estimate within that figure. This season, we were extremely lucky because DPW was well-staffed with a crew that took a lot of pride in this project. If we had staffing issues or a large change order in staff, it may be a little more difficult to maintain without contracted services. And I would like, if the town would like to consider keeping this program, I think I'd want to work with Marlene and Finance to possibly add some additional funding at Fall Town meeting to cover those expenses.
Right, so if the board was happy with this and we want to continue with it, I will be coming before you with a supplemental budget request for funding at the Fall Town meeting so that the money is available for DPW to use in the preseason before May.
For next spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the FY '25. And the feedback from Bourne Youth Baseball was they were really pleased. They thought you did a great job, and they improved their, they talked about how it really helped improve their program because their coaches could actually coach, and, so the feedback, as far as I'm concerned, is extremely positive, so I would say that yes. Arlene?
So one thing that when we do kind of finalize the request for town meeting, one thing that I will be asking you to think about is, if some of that should be a charge to Bourne Youth Baseball for the use, a fee, a user fee.
Right.
Or do you want to put it all in the operating budget on the tax levy? So those are the types of things that I just want you to kind of start thinking about now when we come before you with the breakout of the money and everything. Does it make sense to consider sharing that cost? The town will do it.
Right.
We'll take responsibility for it, we'll own it, but is there a user fee for the season?
And I think that's a fair discussion that we should have with Bourne Youth Baseball.
Yep.
Is there something that they feel that they could handle and participate in? I think that would be a good conversation to have with them.
And then the last thing I want to, actually two more things. I'm the bad news person. So one of the biggest issues we had was damage done by dogs. And that we took the gates off, we posted banners, we asked people to not let their dogs run and damage the field. We had a lot of dog damage. So if we're going to commit to doing this, if we're going to be serious about this, one of the things we're going to have to talk about is enforcement on dogs during the season. When all winter long, we don't really care. But during the season, while
It's kind of like no dogs on beaches in the summer. I
So-
mean, swimming beaches, you don't want dogs on the swimming beaches.
And then the third point is kind of, I think this was very popular. It went very well. We were happy, we were excited to do it. There was a lot of good energy for this. We know that it did not solve the problem and that there's more need out there and there's other people feel, other youth sports groups feel left out. Soccer, lacrosse, other groups were not included. So this, remember, this was only the 5 baseball locations. I think at this point, if we want to expand this beyond those 5 diamonds, then we're in the conversation of additional labor, additional employees. So this really, Matt alluded to it, that if we had a big shift in our priorities or we had, some extenuating circumstances, we would be calling in contractors. Matt's crew did this all themselves this year, and we didn't have to rely on calling in contractors. But if we want to add more locations, then we have to find more labor somehow.
And I think we have to identify what locations that would be, because a lot of like the fall sports, like soccer, a lot of that's done at the schools, and I think the schools kind of mow those fields. I mean, so I think continuing to gather information and do cost analysis and benefit analysis and would it make sense is, and I forget how much you originally budgeted from ARPA for this.
75,000, I think.
Yes.
So we had no idea. So we built in a lot of extra in case we needed it, because we didn't want to start and then not be able to do it. So Matt has really good data now, and we'll continue to refine it. I don't need you to make any decisions tonight. We just wanted to report out, and then when we talk about the warrant for fall, we'll talk about how you want to proceed.
Thank you. Anne Marie.
So if we do continue this program and it's no longer a pilot, would overtime still exist, or is that somehow it becomes part of, the operating budget and this is the time, or do you think that it's gonna take as much time again, but now we're at a point where they're in a condition that it might not take as much time? I don't know.
It will still take as much time, especially during the main season where we're mowing the fields twice. The overtime wasn't necessarily on the fields at those times on Friday afternoons and Saturdays. Our mowing schedule was based around when their games were. But the other maintenance, the other island mowings, the other landscaping, trimming of hedges, weed whacking Main Street, things like that, the park, those had to be taken care of with additional hours. I think we would still need overtime hours with the current staffing we have now.
Okay.
I think we should be looking at what the cost would be if we took on the other fields, because I do feel that the other outdoor sports groups were left out. I know the perception looked like it was left out, and I know a lot of those are done by the school department with the fields behind the middle school. But we should look into it and do a cost-benefit analysis, see what would it cost if we did the additional fields, because...
One of the things that's happening, though, is that they're doing that field analysis of all those, the rec department's in this big thing about how we should be, what we should have for they've got that whole CPA project. So kind of looking at that CPA project and what facilities are gonna be at what fields and then how they should be maintained. I think that should be part of our whole discussion for that.
I think we need a bigger discussion overall with this, just so...
Absolutely.
Okay. Curbside trash and recycling.
Prior to annual town meeting last year, the select board adopted changes to the curbside collection policy that allowed for additional 87 residential units to begin receiving the pickup by the DPW. At annual town meeting, funding was approved through ICEWIM for the purchase of additional carts to meet this change. In late July, DPW began delivering the new carts and sent letters to all the new property owners, and trash and recycling pickup began for these residents on August 6th and 7th.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
With no stress or any, no problems?
Nope, we didn't receive any calls, and the crews didn't seem to have any concerns or issues with it.
That's good. There were some people that hadn't realized that we had actually approved that. They were like, well, we're not getting it. I was like, well, you're not getting it until August. So I think that's good. I was actually recently, because I have nothing better to do, looking at some old minutes, old minutes. I'm talking back when that, when the trade winds, when it was taken off the trash. And that was, they were very upset at that time. And so I think that they're happy to be back. So it's good. Thank you. Barlow's Landing Road and Shore Road intersection.
So this was a project that was initiated, excuse me, we've seen plans back to 1999 for this project, and it was actually started. So since I've started, we've recently began meeting and soliciting feedback from the public again, including the Pecasset Village Association. We just recently met with EP, and based on public comments and some of the design changes we were implementing in-house, they're going to give us an updated set of plans for presentation. Once completed, I think we'll come back to the select board and some of the local businesses, the immediate stakeholders in the intersection, and get their feedback on it. We're looking at bringing this project to spring town meeting and applying for a Complete Streets grant probably in May. There is definitely a large divide amongst what the intersection should be, whether it should be a four-way stop sign or continue to be a two-way stop sign with blinking lights. Our engineers still maintain, and the studies say that it should be a four-way stop. So right now, we're leaving that four-way stop in the design. But by pushing it to spring town meeting, it gives us time to make sure that's what the town wants. One of the other big concerns that came from multiple places was the cost of the project. So in this design, we're going to have kind of two estimates. One, if we focus just on the intersection, and a second additional cost if we focus on additional sidewalks, additional crosswalks, additional changes outside of the definitive intersection, just so that people can see the prices. If we pull back and do just the intersection, it may affect our competition in the grant process because we're not really pushing those pedestrian
Sidewalks for
improvements
complete
outside of
streets,
that
yeah.
intersection. But the town may view that as using our own money to do that and taking that Complete Streets grant and putting it someplace else. So once we have that plan, we can come back to the select board if you'd like. And I wasn't sure if, when we get that, if we should put it on the website to solicit feedback, or I wasn't quite sure what the best way to go about that once we have that new design. And what the select board would like our next steps to be.
Going back to Pecasset Village is probably another thing, because
give
in a wider meeting than just the board.
Yeah.
Because,
An open forum with Pecasset Village
yeah,
Association.
we'll talk about that. We'll do something when we get to that point. When there's two different things, we'll see what the neighborhood feels about it,
And the
and invite
butters.
them to come
And
here.
the butters.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll do it as like a select board meeting, maybe over there, so
Yeah.
that we can all participate. Yeah. We'll get good communication going.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, were there any additional questions on?
Potential dredging of South Channel, Bassett
Turn this
Island.
over to Tim for the dredging part.
Thank you. Tim Lyden, Bourne Engineering. Academy Main project real quick. Really good opportunity to connect with business owners. And it kind of laid us, a good groundwork for going into a project like Barlow's and Shore. So I just wanted to kind of speak to the fact that we're picking projects based on safety, and that's kind of something I always want to come back. But we got a lot of really good feedback from residents and the business community on that western side of Main Street. So that was productive.
That's good.
So dredge, Shore and Harbor Committee, has been working through a lot of this stuff. Just to give you a little background, we're looking to do the South Channel dredging. The dewatering basin is on Bassett's Island. What allows us to do this work is an immense amount of permitting, probably the most permitting I think we deal with. We just got our final approval for our 10-year comprehensive permit this spring.
Yes.
Nice.
Anybody that doesn't know, we applied for it in 2019. So it took us 5 years to get our 10-year permit. And we began working on that when I started here back in 2014, 2015. So it just gives you kind of a perspective that we're trying to lump all our projects into one permit, but it is like a very modern thing for the state to be doing it. The Salt Channel has about 6,000 cubic yards. We can do that work probably in 2 weeks, working with the county dredge program. The dredge program, has had some ups and downs with the towns. As you can imagine, us being getting our 10-year permit, other towns are trying to do the same thing. We were all kind of held up in the same stuff. The state's working through their issues with the Army Corps, and as you can imagine, it's all these interagencies, discussing and understanding what we got to do. So the county dredge kind of lost out on a lot of projects last year, just like all the towns did too. So, they're here. I know that they have their schedule based around a couple big money projects, as they should. Bourne right now currently sits in December. The way the logistics work, and in my past experience with dredging projects, some get canceled based on weather. We were a little concerned about that, so working with Ken Cirillo and the county dredge team, we reviewed our permit. I worked with our consultant, who's been extremely helpful, BSC Group. We've worked with them for 25 years, and I can say our dredge program, I don't know many issues that we've had. So we reached out, and it turns out that we requested a change in our time of year restriction, because every single town, as you can imagine, we're on the same region, have the same time of year restrictions, September 30th to January 15th. It's a very short window to get a lot of dredging done. And a couple of years ago in Picasa River, we went over our January 15th, deadline with the diamondback terrapin and winter flounder at the same time. And we requested an extension. They said, yeah, absolutely. You guys are almost done with the project. You got a few more days. In that same idea, we requested that we start early. It's really, what's the difference? I mean, we're so backed up. The state knew that these permits were kind of on hold. We have a really, really good county dredge program. I don't think, for people that are unaffiliated, most counties don't have a program like this. So we requested the time of year restriction to be, waived. We would be authorized to start September 1st. The county dredge has no projects lined up until October 1st. With their mobilization on that project and this time of year restriction, we're hoping to maybe aim to get started September 3rd, because we do need to do some work on the dewatering basin. Assistant Town Administrator coming back and hitting the ground running. Welcome back, Liz. We get the bid out. We're going to expect bids to come back August 29th. So we'll know more at that time if we can get that project started. But as you can imagine, building a dewatering basin takes a few days. So working with the county, they said they have a little bit of leeway. Originally, we thought that maybe September 15th was a drop-dead date for them to leave, but it's looking like they'll see us right until the end of the month. So,
how does the dredge work around the channel? Is not where any. If there's boat traffic, how does the boat traffic work around?
So fortunately, with Bassett's Island, we have a north and a south channel, and we'll probably be shutting down the south channel. It's for 10 days of dredging. We reached out to local marinas in that area. We talked to DNR. We got some feedback. It was a big whirlwind to try to maybe request that we change this permit, as you can imagine. Division of Marine Fisheries, Department of Environmental Protection, the Army Corps weighs in on this. So when we did all that, we had a little bit of a stir. We had to reach out to all of our, constituents and residents alike, and a couple of the other departments, and it just seems to all line up.
So people are okay, from our conversations, people are okay and understand that will only be using the North Channel while we're dredging.
So all the people that are around the South Channel, like if you have a mooring off the Scraggy Neck in the South Channel or off the, you're going to have to go up that boat traffic's going to have to go up all around.
We won't be occupying the entire channel the whole time. We'll be working through. Probably, I'm hoping we start at the mouth. Don't misquote me. Start at the mouth so people entering will know. And then getting the word out.
It's a moving target.
It's a moving target. And also, we still have a lot of things that are falling into place with the bid and everything. So it's almost like we put everybody on standby. We're going to let you know when that's coming, but it looks like we'll at least be able to give people 2 weeks a heads up.
Right. I'm just thinking of some of the local boaters that we need to make sure that they are going to understand what's going to happen with them, and that the Scraggy Cove Master, kind of knows what's going on. So, okay.
Similar.
That's good. I mean, I think it's good. I know the county it was really difficult for the county last year because they have infrastructure and people, and they need to do work to pay for their program. And the permits weren't coming, so they couldn't actually do the work. So it had a huge impact on the county, a financial impact on the county, that they couldn't do that work. And so getting the permitting done so they can actually do the work is good. So if we're using the county dredge, I saw the RFP and it had, I think,
So-
that's due on the 29th. Yeah.
It's really just, it's for the site work, the dewatering basin. So as you can imagine, when you pump a lot of water and sand, you gotta let the water come out. It's all beautiful sand. Final point is it is on Bassett's Island. I know there could be some concern from residents. I do want to put it out there. We are going to go back to the Conservation Commission to discuss with them how we're going to nourish the beach in a certain way on the first week of September. I think it's the 5th or the 7th. I forget what the exact date is. But the dewatering basin on Bassett's Island is something we've done throughout the history of the dredge. We have a plan. It's just, it could be, it's always messy. The dewatering basins are always messy, just like Monument Beach and Little Bay was and Pecasset River. So.
Maybe starting in that time of the year, the boating seems to wean a little bit and.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
it's kind of a little bit after Labor Day, so it's
kind
okay.
of a little
but-
bit after
but
Labor
these-
Day.
These
and-
hardcore
Day
boaters.
after.
Yeah, like, they keep their boats in until October 31st. It's like, they have to be out by November 1st, so.
Right, right.
I don't think we're going to get there right away. You know, we still have to build that basin. And
Yeah.
they were just concerned with Saturday and Sunday traffic, which I think we could just tell the county we're going to hold off on those days. Because they're not rushing anywhere until October 1st.
We're not gonna promise that.
I say that with all
We're not gonna promise
naive as I
that.
am.
We will do our best. But if we need to make, if there's weather and we need to make up time, we're making up time.
So where announcements, let us know where announcements and updates will be available so that we can let people know.
Yeah.
You
if
will
you're
be on the
concerned.
distribution list,
Yeah.
yes. And similar to Academy of Maine, Tim and I did a really robust communication with the community prior to construction and everything, and letting them know and having Tim's information as a resource so they could turn to him if they have any questions or feedback in real time. And so that'll be something that we will implement in a different manner, but very similar for this particular project, because you're right, it impacts people and their quality of life, and they need to have a heads up as to what's
But
going
that
on.
channel needs to be dredged.
Yeah.
That channel
Exactly.
really needs to be
Exactly.
dredged.
That-
It's been 20 years,
That's, but that's
There's a
something
very
that-
little, yeah.
Well, same thing on the other side though, coming in. Some of those larger boats won't be able to come around.
But that is part of the
'Cause that other
process
end is
of
just as
these
narrow as
projects.
Yeah, it's really narrow.
You gotta hit it dead center almost to get through.
Awesome. Well, great work. Good thinking to go early.
We're gonna give it a
Yeah,
go.
we're gonna try. Yeah.
We're gonna give.
We're trying. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're trying.
Yeah. This was a real lift to get this going this quickly. So, but we're gonna do our best to get it done.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay. Next, discussion, ESMA change order with train.
So there are two change orders on your agenda. The first one is for the schools. It's change order number 2, and then the second one is for the town for change order number 3.
Okay.
So I'm happy to speak to the changes for the town buildings.
Okay. So, I think Carrie Ann's here to speak for the schools. You want to, I think we've heard about this project before a little bit. I have a question about the letter that we got from DOER. Because their wording on that letter is kind of strange. Because they said that they reviewed it and they've just put it in the file. Is it just, are we just required to notify them of this change?
Yes.
That's what it is that we need to notify them that we're doing this additional work under the whatever scope that was set in the thing. I forget what the technical term
Yes,
for it
and we
is.
have to give DOER 10 days we have to give them 10 days notice before we execute. So they don't necessarily approve or deny, but we have to give them a notice period.
Okay. So now we have provided the notice period on the change order 2, which is the contract for the HVAC at the wastewater treatment plant, is that correct?
Yes.
Would you like to speak to that? Just tell us what it is. I'm sorry, I don't have my laptop tonight. I left it on my dining room table, so I have no documents.
No worries. Jordan sends his regrets. He's out of town this week. So I'll be happy to speak to it. As you said, you've seen it before. I want to again thank the town administrator and town council for reviewing it. To navigate this change order process, I mean, it was our first go-around. We, had a small misstep in there in the timing of things, but I believe that now this change order has been reviewed and filed. Looks like it's all in order. This project was monies that were already committed through capital. It was for the HVAC for the wastewater treatment plant, which is a 20-year project of continually updating it. And our intention originally for doing the performance contracting project was to actually roll in things that we were already doing to then save money and help with the green initiative, the Green Communities Initiative. This was 4 years ago, way back when. So, we were happy to put this one in, but then we didn't realize it wasn't explicitly stated because it was a different set of money. It was already allocated. So I believe it's all been worked through now. Again, I really want to thank Marlene, Town Council, and this would complete it and allow Train to be paid for their work.
Okay, so on that, what you need from us is a motion to authorize you to sign change order number 2.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Melissa. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. So
Thank
Marlene
you.
will execute that.
Appreciate it. Thank
We'll
you.
have a contract for finance.
And then change order number 3 was reallocating monies within the $5.2 million project. So monies were saved kind of at the beginning of the project from the initial estimates on some of the work. And we were able to add scope to use that money. So this is a $0 change order. And we were able to add scope at Fire Station 1 and Town Hall. So at Town Hall, we were able to do a new air handler, and at Station 1, we were able to do a new pump manifold and a new air handler as well. The main change here is that we added time for completion. So this change order extends the schedule for Train to complete the project through the end of August. So it's $0 add, but we are adding days.
Question.
Peter?
It's adding time and a zero cost, but we've also, through this experience, have had our ups and downs, especially in this building. I mean, do you feel comfortable extending this? I mean, because, we've had problems with them.
So this is not any additional money. So we've committed to paying $5.2 million. So we've entered into a contract where for that value. So it's my responsibility to use the funds for the best, the best bang for your buck. So we have to find good, in my opinion, good projects to use up that money that was freed up elsewhere earlier in the scope. We have had our ups and downs. This project is not closed out. Train and Town Council and Sam Barrett and I are working closely almost daily on addressing issues. They are not all addressed yet. I don't know if I would recommend doing this in the future. So I think we have to see this project through to the end. I think we have to get the town whole. We have to get the systems operating. And I would need to think long and hard on whether or not I would recommend that we continue to do this with any of the town buildings.
I have a question. When you read the change orders, they outlined both the school change order and both 2 and 3. So in the original contract, they were going to do a certain amount of work, and they were guaranteeing certain energy savings. And there's a piece of the contract where we're going to be paying them over a period of time to monitor those energy savings, to make sure that we get those energy savings, and then there's something that happens if we don't get them. So these 2 change orders are not part of that monitoring, right?
That's
There's
correct.
They're saying, this is what we're estimating you're gonna get, and whether you get it or not, we're not gonna monitor it, we're not gonna do anything that has to do with that. And that's one of the things that happens with the change orders. It's not part of their management.
Neither of these change orders will affect the town's ongoing monitoring and verification fee, and that fee is after the project is complete, then you enter into monitoring and verification phase for the next 15 years. So the scope of work that's added to the project for these 2 change orders does not change that fee schedule in the original contract for the 15 years.
Does that that fee schedule have anything to do with maintenance of the equipment, or it's
No.
just monitoring the energy savings?
It's just monitoring
Okay.
and verifying the savings. So it is not an annual maintenance contract at all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so on change order 3, do we need a motion to authorize you to sign that?
Yes.
So move.
Motion by Peter, is there a second?
Second.
By Anne Marie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you. We're all set. Discussion and signing of the September 3rd, 2024 primary election warrant.
Motion to authorize the select board to sign the warrant of the September 5th,
Third.
2024 primary election.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Anne Marie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. We just want to make sure before we leave tonight that all those are signed. Okay, discussion, Cape Cod Bridges Project, review of comments provided by town staff.
Thank you.
Lynn.
So, the town departments and I have actually spent quite a bit of time this summer going through in detail the proposals that MassDOT presented at their open house in May. And we've had time to kind of sift and sort through both the Sagamore Crossing and the Bourne Crossing. Most of our comments are centered around the Bourne Crossing. There's a bigger change there, or there will be a bigger change there compared to existing conditions. And I think there are decisions that the select board and the community need to kind of grapple with. So we provided our thoughts to you, and they're in the packet, and I'm not going to read them, but I am going to kind of summarize the points.
Yeah.
So, the first point that I want to make completely clear is that, as the board knows, Tim Lyden and I are working very hard on the rail trail. And we have been working diligently on that project. And there's a lot of moving pieces with that project. As you know, ISWIM and I have also been talking about the potential for a rail spur to ISWIM. And both of those projects are complicated and expensive projects in their own right. And even though we need to be we do need to think holistically about all of the modes of transportation and all of the transportation projects. I want to make it clear to the board that whatever happens with the rail trail and or any potential rail spur should not derail the planning and design of the Bourne Bridge. So the Bourne Bridge project is on a very aggressive schedule. It doesn't sound like that because it's still so far away, but for the amount of work that we're talking about, it is on an aggressive schedule. And I do think it's important that even though we are advocating and supporting additional projects, that they in no way harm the schedule for the Bourne Bridge. So that's one point. We talked extensively about the proposed dead-end frontage road that was shown on MassDOT's plans for running along MacArthur Boulevard from the Cumberland Farms property. I think it extends to the car wash. It's the first 2, 3, or 4 commercial lots. MassDOT is showing MacArthur Boulevard being shifted to the east in the layout, and then on the west edge of the layout, they would construct a dead-end frontage road. And after a bit of conversation, our professional recommendation is to support the construction of that frontage road. In our opinion, it will be safer and easier for local commercial traffic to navigate getting to their destination by coming off of an exit to either a signalized intersection or a roundabout, and then turning down the frontage road and then coming back up to Trowbridge Road. It'll be signed as Trowbridge. And then re-entering MacArthur Boulevard either north or south on a dedicated on-ramp, rather than inserting traffic, local commercial traffic, rather than inserting them kind of directly back into MacArthur from the frontage of those lots. So that is something that we want the board to consider and discuss at some point.
I will just say that I'm not sure I agree with that for people that would be going south on MacArthur Boulevard. So they had the frontage road coming up and being a U and only coming down, and the backups that happen in Sagamore with the multiple light systems around in the summer, on the weekends, are horrendous. The backups that happen around Buzzards Bay Rotary on Trowbridge Road in the afternoon are horrendous. I mean, they're really bad, and I'm not sure that it makes sense not to have people that will be going south on MacArthur Boulevard from that frontage road not have a way to go south on MacArthur Boulevard frontage road. If you're going to go north, I have no problem going back out, and just because that would be something that I would have to do. So instead of being able to go back south on MacArthur Boulevard, I'd have to go back down and go through that traffic thing. So I need traffic counts, and I'd also want to make sure that the businesses who are now MacArthur Boulevard frontage businesses are now being put on a frontage road that has no southbound access at MacArthur Boulevard without multiple things. And so I don't know that any of those businesses were at the open house or have been contacted. I don't know what MassDOT's process is. So it's worth considering how the frontage road should be, but I'm not convinced that I don't want to have any access back going south of MacArthur Boulevard. And that's just me. I mean,
I know that May open house was just a blur because, we had an amount of time to digest all of it. And I'm just wondering, are there any topographic or site plan type things from the Commonwealth draft, of course, that we could look at so we can visualize on paper what the draft frontage road is and how it would.
All of their graphics are on their website.
Okay. No, but I know, do we have any in paper? Sometimes I can't blow this up enough for me to see.
they didn't put all the slides from that presentation on their website. And especially like this, I'm not even sure this is on there.
The boards from their open house are on their website, but I do not have them on paper.
I'll get access to a bigger screen and then could look at it differently. Maybe if I can come in here and look at it like on a bigger screen like that through the computer right there.
Well, I'm sure that too, the stakeholder advisory groups, when they get closer to those things, they'll be able to talk more about like those kind of inputs. I mean, hopefully that they're not going to make those decisions without multiple stakeholder inputs.
I understood, but I'm just saying that sometimes I have visual problems. I need accommodations.
Yeah. Well, it's always easier to, okay, so then the next thing.
The third point.
And does anybody else have any comment before I insert too much? All right, go ahead.
We'll look at it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's a lot to digest.
Yep, go ahead.
The next point is that currently MacArthur Boulevard is signed as no bike, pedestrian, or horse access. And it is the staff's opinion, in my opinion, that should remain restricted. And we should not be encouraging bicycles, pedestrian, or horses, but bicycle and pedestrian traffic to use MacArthur Boulevard. It's a high speed. It is not limited access, but there are a lot of curb cuts that carry a lot of traffic, and it is. I realize that there are challenges moving north and south for bicycles and pedestrians, and which is why we are diligently pursuing the rail trail and to mark or identify MacArthur Boulevard as a bikeway. I feel like would be putting us in a difficult position for visitors and people who are not familiar with the area, who would get themselves in a situation that could be dangerous, and that we could possibly be having, to people with not familiar with the area can go down there and really we would need to help them.
Well, is there some proposal to do that?
There, as far as I know, no, there is not a proposal to do that, but we do not want to encourage people getting stranded on bikes and as pedestrians on MacArthur Boulevard.
Mr. York.
John, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. It's difficult when the town officers are uninformed. MacArthur Boulevard is not signed to prevent bicyclists and pedestrians from using it. It is currently a bicycle and pedestrian roadway. That's fact one that we all have to accept. I'm sorry to say it that way, but that's the truth. And if we're messing around with misconceptions, we're going to get ourselves to the wrong place. So that's fact one. I'm sorry, I might not be the right person to tell you that that's a fact, but that's what it is. Fact two is that bicycles and pedestrians use that. For example, the people from out of town that Marlene referred to come over the bridge on a bicycle tour, they're headed to Martha's Vineyard. They go straight on the breakdown lane of MacArthur Boulevard on their bicycle with the heavy panniers on it. Because there's nothing there to tell them to do anything differently. And it is a bicycle roadway right now. We're not creating one. What we need to do is, along the lines of what Marlene was saying, we need Mass DOT to guarantee they're gonna fix that situation such that the bicycles on that roadway aren't endangering themselves and endangering the cars who are swerving to avoid them. So, I've submitted comments to Mass DOT and copied them to you. They're long, so a lot of those details in there get missed, and I know they're too long to read, but there's that much of coming up to speed that Mass DOT needs to do, and anybody addressing that issue has to do. Because I make those as short as I can, believe it or not, and they're still very long. There's a lot of information that needs to be processed in order to make that roadway what it is supposed to be. And so, I'm sorry to be so harsh about it, but it's tough to sit and listen to such misinformation. So, but on the positive side, this project has sliced off a lot of MacArthur Boulevard to be within the project area. I would encourage them to go just a little further so it connects to logical things, but for example, with respect to the frontage road, if you don't want people merging onto MacArthur Boulevard from the frontage road, what about just 100 feet south of where it stops? There's commercial businesses, multiple business parking lots, multiple curb cuts from there all the way to the Otis Rotary, and those all have people entering MacArthur Boulevard. And the frontage road as it's currently designed is only serving a few businesses. So you're saying for those few businesses, people have to go back up to Trowbridge Road and get involved in traffic up there and get on MacArthur Boulevard. But if you happen to be the business 100 feet further south, your customers are driving straight out onto MacArthur Boulevard. So if one of those situations is unacceptable, and one is, and I'm not sure which one's unacceptable and which one isn't, you should be saying we want to put them all one way or the other. There was a comment submitted by the Pecasset Village Association president, I'm not sure if it was from the association of the president himself, a year ago during the state environmental review process of this project, suggesting that that service road should run much further than that frontage road. And that would give a much greater, what I call the tailpipe of the Bourne Bridge, people going 70 miles an hour over the new Bourne Bridge, don't have a rotary to go around, they're not going to slow down right away. So I'll cut my comments off here. I think I'm really excited and impressed to see how much the town is addressing this. I know Marlene wasn't making it up when she said they've put a lot of effort into this. I didn't in any way want to belittle anything that they've done, but we need to address the situations, and which is what's happening now, which is really good. I really like seeing that, and I applaud everybody for that. And the other transportation-related projects, even the rezoning and the crosswalks on Main Street, they all fit into a big picture that our town is starting to shape, which is a wonderful thing. So but the MacArthur Boulevard is a very complicated one, and the problem's already out there. It's not like we're gonna dodge it. That's my comment. And I want to thank all of you for the efforts you put into this. It gets a little better every time. Thank you.
I will say from personal experience going down the boulevard over my years, you've seen people with motorized wheelchairs driving down the breakdown lane. One of them with a flat tire one time. You know, so you're not going to. I mean, and I know you can't stop them from doing it, but anything we can do to try to with proper signage or education.
And actually, that whole section of MacArthur Boulevard should have a full frontage road.
Yeah.
So that either you're through traffic or you're on the frontage road.
Yeah.
I mean that's really common in a lot of places because it is really dangerous to come out onto MacArthur Boulevard and take a right-hand turn with the speed of traffic.
Oh, no
Because
doubt.
they are not going 50 or 55.
But back in the 50s or 60s, when they designed out MacArthur Boulevard, there was to propose, frontage road and local access road, the whole length of southbound from Rotary to Rotary. And I think it's something that should be, something I'm glad that they're revisiting it in some format, because I think it would make it a lot safer for people going up and down MacArthur Boulevard.
Yeah, there's all types of people too that access some of those areas, the campground, for example, the Bay
Yeah.
campground on the way too, where I've seen bikes and wheelchairs and people going in and out of there. But yeah, same, living in Pecasset, driving south, and I don't think I don't think it's good also to the limitations on the businesses that are on the dead-end road and their customers for access, and also dumping that traffic. If someone's going to decide not to get back on the highway and they want to go back through the neighborhoods again, you're like recirculating all of that back through the neighborhood where it really.
I do understand from the Waterhouse. When you come out of Waterhouse and you're trying to merge onto MacArthur Boulevard going south, and you're in this lane, that you have to practically turn your head around, like to go backwards to see cars coming. And then you've got people from the campground that can come right in front of you and cut in front of you. So you're looking on to try to get on, and you can't. I do not go. I do not do that.
When I used to go
most of the
I
time.
go around.
for golf practice, you leave the high school, you go to Waterhouse, and then I'm going to make a right-hand turn in X amount of yards. You're hardly getting up to speed sometimes. You can practically drive down the shoulder to get there, so.
So I understand the safety concerns, but I think it's what the total solution is. We probably won't do it for the bridge, but it is kind of a issue. So, all right. So moving right along. I don't know what the next number is.
The next
My phone keeps turning off.
The next point that I like the board to consider is encouraging MassDOT to make significant improvements to the first U-turn after the Bourne Bridge, and that's the U-turn that people use to access Ice Swim. And large trucks, garbage trucks, large trailers that have to make that maneuver, and improving that deceleration lane on MacArthur Boulevard, and then improving the driver's ability to get over to Ice Swim and enter Ice Swim's facility safely is a major concern.
Yeah.
Is there any way to make that when they're, instead of coming out and having to turn and then turn, making it like a straight shot across? I mean, could that, I don't know how the road is in Isom, because that's the difference between when you're doing this, the shot across the southern part of MacArthur Boulevard at Waterhouse, I think at Waterhouse it is. It's a lot easier to make that straight across shot than it is to make the turn, the go and turn.
It's too bad it couldn't go down a little bit further, because then it would give people enough room to accelerate a little more instead of having to cut over and try to go pull out and be like, am I going to get killed on the right? Getting over, because it's almost immediate.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So if it was further down, it might give a little more time to
Especially if
merge.
traffic's backed up.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
we're not
that
going to
is-
solve all those problems, but
That is one thing that we do want to encourage, we want to formally encourage MassDOT to really look at that.
Is that beyond their project scope right now then?
It is.
Yeah, so getting that.
It is
further,
beyond their
yeah.
project scope. If we can go across the canal to the north side on Scenic Highway. So the next point is, as you're driving down Scenic Highway, heading towards Belmont Circle, before you get to the light at Nightingale Pond Road, or Nightingale Road, before you get to that light, there are 3 houses that have driveways directly on that curve on Scenic Highway. And we don't necessarily have an answer here, but we would like to encourage the town and MassDOT to explore as part of this project if there's a way to access those residential properties from some sort of extension from Nightingale, the Nightingale Pond neighborhood, and not continue to use direct access on Scenic Highway. Especially how some of the improvements to the surface roads on the north side of the Bourne crossing are going to, there's going to be significant conflicts there, and removing residential traffic from that area would go a long way towards allowing people to get onto the bridge and onto, you know, the highway and where they need to go, or continuing on, you know, to Belmont Circle. But that's something that I think it would be in the best interest of the town and MassDOT to consider working together on, having MassDOT do it as part of their project if possible. And then with the understanding that the town would assume ownership of those afterwards as local public roads, or a local public extension.
Are these the 3 new houses that were under construction, or are these the existing homes?
These are the existing homes.
To John, well, you wouldn't know him, but John Harris's old house, if you go down behind it and go down, it's the old Bob's Truckin' or J.J. Bartley's Moving and Storage, and right near that, next to it, it's the Cranberry Bog, it's Tassinari's Cranberry Bog. There is an access road that comes up. If you go down Nightingale Pond, go straight ahead, and if you stop making a right up at the, and then it turns into like a gravel road, and then I think right where the horse barn used to be in that single-family house on the left-hand side, they put a Jersey barrier or something up there, but there is a, I just didn't know if it was those homes or the ones that they've been building over the last couple of years.
It's 385, 391, and 411. So it's the 3 existing, it's the 3 westernmost.
And they had a couple different options for what they were doing around that
Yeah.
Nightingale. And that's, even right now, even that intersection, because when you come out of Belmont Rotary and you're heading that way, east, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
there's people in the left-hand lane are stopped to make
Yeah.
that left-hand turn. It's so dangerous. I mean,
Yeah, it is that, what I call a new house, but it's like within the last 5 years or so, so like, and I'm looking at it on a GIS map right now. So it's those houses, that house and the houses to the right.
Yes.
Okay.
so that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I think we should consider. We, especially the police department, we are really concerned with the labor that's going to be necessary for the duration of this project. And we can't handle the road jobs. We can't handle the details. So we would actually like to formally encourage MassDOT to consider flaggers in the work zone where they can do it. They typically won't and don't, but if there are areas that it's safe and appropriate, this is going to be just an enormous amount of man hours that are going to be necessary, that it's going to exhaust us.
If we are gonna if we are gonna go down that road, I hope contractually we can also help out Upper Cape Tech, because they for 4 and after school, they have to pay a police detail a 4-hour minimum to get these kids in and out of their parking lot. And that's a big expense, where if we could expand, say you can use a flag or something a little less intensive, you're saving that school some money as well if they have to go down that road. So I think if we're gonna work on something like this, I think we should try to help Upper Cape any way we can as well.
I don't know what the laws are in Massachusetts about flaggers.
Well, that would also be MassDOT's call.
Yeah.
Civilian flaggers were approved in Massachusetts, but it ended up being a problem because a lot of the police departments were losing detail because of them. So when I worked for the staffing firm, we staffed a lot of civilian flaggers once they were allowed. But I mean, I think in this case, our police department is understaffed, so they might want them. But that was really, it became a problem because the state police and the local police were getting, they were calling the civilian flaggers because they were cheaper.
Yeah.
And the police were, had a problem with it for very good reason. Some of that's that's their overtime. So I don't know what the status, this was in 2011, so it could have changed. But there are organizations and staffing firms that have them ready to go.
The next point is that we just want to be right up front and very clear that this is a project that's going to go all through the summer, and there should be no expectation of any summer shutdown for multiple years.
Yeah, well,
It's just reality.
yeah.
So that's just, I think we just want to get that out there, and we just want to be realistic that once the job starts, the job's going. And then the last point is that each of these proposed signalized intersections have to go through their review, their internal, MassDOT's internal review, where they do all of their traffic modeling. And it's possible that some of these intersections will be ultimately proposed as roundabouts. And if that is the case, the staff and I are making a recommendation that the town press for only single lane roundabouts and no double lane roundabouts, so we do not get ourselves in a situation like Belmont Circle where we have those hawk pedestrian lights. So if it's a single lane entrance or exit out of the roundabout, those delayed, the solid flashing, those delayed sequence lights are not necessary. So we're not saying that we're not saying no roundabouts, but we're saying that if roundabouts are modeled as the best option for the intersection, our preference is for single lane roundabouts, and we are not in favor of double lane roundabouts.
Do you recall if the roundabout that they showed relocating over so that the tech school entrance would go sort of into a roundabout, or was that?
Single lane.
That's, yeah. So that makes a lot of sense.
They don't.
Yeah, because you just people.
Especially if you have multiple entries and exits, you have to eliminate crossovers, otherwise,
Yeah.
Single lane's the only way to eliminate crossovers and reduce the risk of accidents.
So those are our comments. Obviously, the department heads and I are paying very close attention.
Appreciate that.
I don't know what MassDOT's next steps are, but at some point, I think that when the universe of options has been narrowed down to the preferred options, we really need to weigh in formally with the town's comments in one way or another. So, and these are based on what we've seen as the options have been laid out now, these are our comments to you, or our recommendations to you.
Okay. Do we want to, or what do you want to do? Do we have to?
You don't have to do anything.
Well, at some point.
At some point.
At some point, we will have to have some sort of board recommendation maybe or something. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate the work. It's very detailed and thoughtful. I can't always agree with everything, so.
That's okay. No, there are things that people are not going to agree with, but we wanted to at least give you a recommendation in our opinion.
Yeah, I am worried about the logistics of the multiple signalized intersection around Bourne for local traffic. Because there's parts of, some of the Sagamore issues are bad, but I think there's other, could be more problems in that local traffic in Bourne in that area. even more than Sagamore, because there's a lot of traffic that comes locally from Falmouth and from Woods Hole, and even the Peter Pan buses now are using County Road. All right, then, moving on to Town Administrator's report.
A couple items. Earlier this year, the town received a 75% set of plans from MassDOT for crosswalk improvements near bus stops on Trowbridge Road and Sandwich Road. This week, we received the 100% design plans. We will review them, and they will be uploaded to DPW's website so the public can view them too.
So these are the
Crosswalks at the bus.
stops on like Trowbridge Road.
Trowbridge Road, 2 on Trowbridge and 1 on Sandwich.
Thank you.
The flashing beacons at the Bourne Rotary will be at the Splitter Islands will be installed tonight and tomorrow night. This is the last outstanding work, and the project will be complete after these are in. I'd like to thank the Recreation Department for all their hard work this summer and for putting on a great season. Last Friday was the last day of summer camp, and last Sunday was the last afternoon we were able to guard the beaches before the lifeguards had to leave for college. We received a lot of positive feedback on the summer programs this year and are already thinking about ways we can make improvements for next year. We've received notice from the Army Corps that the public restrooms at the canal will be closing at 7:30 p.m. throughout August as the daylight hours shorten. As of the end of July, ISOM has diverted 7.84 tons of food waste from the landfill so far this year. And finally, we are currently advertising for a vacancy on the Board of Assessors. This is a board with only 3 members, so we want to fill the vacancy as soon as possible to avoid to have to cancel any meetings because of a lack of quorum. The board members are appointed by the town administrator, and if anyone is interested in applying, please encourage them to reach out to me or the finance director, and we will be happy to talk to them about the commitment.
I want to say thank you to the Recreation Department for doing Omen's work, and they're doing a great job this summer with various programs. You know, the summer camp, I saw these kids up and down the street, and they were having a grand old time. And the swimming, was great as well with what they were able to do. Maybe as a suggestion for next year, just to put a bug in someone's ear, is if we have to shut down by, let's say, the second week in August, why don't we go on the other end and maybe open sooner? Provide, lifeguarded beach sooner, like in June sometime. That's a possibility, so that way we can, it's twofold, we can protect the beach that much longer, and also it gives those kids a chance to earn a few more dollars, when we can do that.
Minutes.
Motion to approve minutes of 7/16/2024.
I have 2
with
amendments.
edits. With edits.
2 quick edits on the shout-out. The last bullet of the shout-out, it's Marie Oliva.
Yeah.
Not Leroy, I think it's listed as Marie Leroy.
Yep.
And then on page 2, for the appointment of the trustee, it said accept, and I think it should say the motion should be to appoint.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's what I'm pretty sure it's what it was.
Yeah.
There was a motion of the trustees and a motion of the select board, so, but I would approve that. Minutes with those amendments.
Yeah. All right, that's my motion, my motion with those edits.
Okay, is there a second? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions, unanimous.
And motion to approve minutes of 7/23/24.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions, it's unanimous.
And motion to approve minutes of 7/31/2024.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Anne Marie. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, it's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Any committee reports?
Come on, we have an affordable housing trust meeting. I'll be able to report after that. And then Ice Wham Building Committee has selected 3 finalists. And they will be talking about that tomorrow, meeting at 3 o'clock.
Not too bad.
I don't know.
Oh,
Right. Yeah, three finalists.
I know there's 3 finalists. I thought the meeting time was 2:30, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yep.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay. Any other committees? Nope. Correspondence.
Select Board's correspondence for August 13th, 2024. A, DEP letter, decision document, NFRAP Otis Gun Club, MRA. B, DEP letter, record of decision, DOD property, MRS, Old Grenade Courts. C, DEP letter, range environmental monitoring report for March 23rd through February, or is that 2023?
Yeah.
February 2024. D, DEP letter J2 range Northern EMR, November 2022 to October 2023 comments. E, Bourne Middle School, CVEC notice end of K's kindergartens project. F, Department of Public Utilities, 24-98, notice of public hearing. G, Department of Public Utilities, 24-99, notice of public hearing. H, Department of Public Utilities, 24-104, notice of public hearing solar tariffs. I, J. York, email regarding Mass Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Board, MABPAB, meeting on July 24th, 2024. J, John York, email regarding Cape Cod Bridges program presentation. K, Cape Cod Commission, July 2024, update from Stephen Mealy. L, thank you note to ISWIM for Mass Military Foundation. M, Cape Tech meeting minutes from June 13th, 2024. N, Blade and Leavenworth Memorial bench request. O, final Holtec applicability determination, sorry. And that is it.
So the next item is future agenda items related to correspondence and other items for future discussion. There's 2 things on here. The Bourne Middle School CVAC notice end of K's project. That contract was signed by Tom Carino, I think. So is that something the select board should make a decision on? Do we ask the schools for their opinion, or do we just say we do not want to put those back on because we're going to put a new roof on?
So I will say that I have already told CVAC that the town doesn't want to put them back on. I have
Okay.
not signed it yet.
Okay.
So I am comfortable signing it and returning it myself, or I will defer to you.
All right. Maybe we should take a put it on an
vote.
agenda. Let's put it on an agenda and we'll just take a vote on it.
Okay.
And the other is Blade Leavenworth Memorial Bench request. We want to have an agenda item for that.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And then are we gonna need an agenda item to, for that WLRP? That's coming up, and once they start putting in them peace poles, we need that agreement between the town and the
Well, I don't have the
WLRP.
agreement to,
I sent the sample. She said that that's really what they use. That's just a template. We can use that language. I mean, I guess I can type it up maybe and send it.
well, I don't know what the language is,
Yeah.
the template doesn't have the language, so we need the language of, the actual language that we would approve.
Yeah, I'll get it. It's in the,
Okay.
it's in that letter. It's like they all,
Okay.
she said that's the same thing that the town of Mashpee used. I just didn't know if we need an agenda item for it. If we don't, then I won't worry about it.
No, well, if we do need an agenda
Yeah,
item
to
for
get
it.
that, yes.
Yeah, so we need the agreement that we need to approve.
Okay, I'll see if I can get her to send it to me in Word so I don't have to retype it,
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Okay. And I don't know if Mashpee's wording was the same as ours, so.
It's the same as the one that I had from Aquina. She said they both use the same
Okay.
template, yeah.
Okay, we'll have an agenda item for that.
And it has to
Also-
go through council anyway,
Yeah.
apparently. So we'll figure it out. I just wanted to mention it while you said future agenda
Yep.
items before I forget, because
Yes, Peter.
before we know it, they'll be installing the peace poles.
We should have said something at the beginning of the meeting, but welcome back our assistant town administrator.
Yeah.
This is her first meeting back, but she's been back, I think, almost a week now.
Over a week.
Yeah, so, welcome back, and
Good
you
to have ya.
you will miss.
Okay, next meeting dates are outlined on,
What is our update with marijuana? I mean, for the 27th, what are we gonna be expecting?
Marlene is hopefully giving us an implementation plan.
Yeah.
That's what we're charged for. Okay, all right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Anne Marie, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed, abstentions, it's unanimous, 9:17.